This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everyone. I have a question. Why are you here? How'd you find this podcast? Why are you here? Why are we here? Why do we exist? What's going on? And sometimes you wonder with that question as life changes, and it is all the time. There's a lot going on in the world. Every day is a new day. We're going to see if we can get that answered or at least get some insight on it. She is the woman behind Infinite Healing and Wellness, which is a holistic boutique that offers many different modalities and services to help us heal and move our lives forward. And she's also the author of Mastering Self. Colleen Brindley, I'm glad, is here. Welcome back. How are you doing?
Hi, great, Steve. So good to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful to have you back here.
So many questions, right? So many questions, and we could talk for hours and hours and hours. But one of the biggest questions people come here for is why? What am I doing here? What's Earth about? And it could be sickness, death, grief, loss. Something pushed them into this period of change, of wonder. And I feel like it's happening all over right now. I feel like there's this intensity of why? Well, what's Earth? What's important about me? What are my gifts? And I think a lot of that started after 1975. We had this influx of a population of a very high frequency of children called indigos. And they didn't fit the mold. They didn't fit the box. And they really pushed adults in their lives to question and change some of the systems that maybe weren't working optimally for that population. And so I raised 3 indigo children. I did not get a diagnosis for any of them, but easily working in schools, saw Asperger's, autism, ADHD, and certainly indigos have these qualities of dysregulation, of really, so Earth's frequency has had a difficult frequency for them. So indigos come in very loving. And so especially indigos ask those questions, why? Why am I here? It doesn't necessarily feel good. I feel rejected. I feel sad. Now, we've all felt those feelings, but what's the point? And I think the reason we're on Earth is for change, to raise the frequency of Earth to a place of love, of compassion, to connect each other, to release judgment, worry, stress, and change it up. And so working with indigos is a specialty of mine, because sometimes they wonder, what do I matter? Well, what's so good about me? And they're very creative and possibly artistic and have these great strengths and talents. But they also, because of this high frequency, have very high highs and very low lows. And their purpose on Earth is to regulate, to find a way to find balance and moderation. And I think, parenting is a big purpose on Earth, as is taking care of the elderly. I think so when we start to look at, there's so many reasons we're all here on Earth, but ultimately it's to come to connect, see value in ourselves and each other. But we need support to do that. We really need support to move through those highs and lows and regulate, find moderation, and recognize our value, that you matter. I work with some indigos. They would go to art school, get a job, get married, have kids, and for 20 years, they weren't using any art, not for fun, not in their lives, and they were miserable. And some of the simplest solutions come from going back to what your talents and gifts are. And it doesn't have to be for money or career, but when you add those things into your life that you love, you enjoy, wow, things change, things shift. So a big part of your purpose is to recognize your talents, your strengths, your gifts, and continue to use them. Some people love to travel. Some people love to speak. Some people love to learn. But really, we have to get back to the root of you're important, you're valuable, and what makes you you. You're really not supposed to be like someone else. So oftentimes we look out in the world and say, well, my purpose must be this job, this amount of money, this house, this car. And we kind of move all of that, tear all of that apart and say, wait a minute, you're valuable. Let's look at you. And that takes strength and courage to kind of look at who you are. And so I always think of lyrics, and Indigos do really well with this. It's called White Spirit. It's this beautiful lyric by Uman, Uman. And it's this, it reminds me of the Teletubbies. My children grew up with Teletubbies, but it's this kind of la, la, la kind of lyric. And it's very soothing to indigos. So when indigos hear that, they feel a sense of peace. I did some research on indigos, and they actually came from this plane where they would meditate 17 hours out of 24. So they would be sitting, like we're actively working, moving here on Earth, but on other planes, when you start to investigate other planes, especially where indigos came from, it's this very peaceful, meditative place. And so that's why when individuals here on Earth at this time, with the frequencies they have, start to quiet their minds and meditate, everything starts to feel better. So the power of quiet is so strong for our indigos and our populations on Earth right now. It will just bring that peaceful energy forward and start to be contagious.
Lots of questions for you, Colleen. Okay. The phrase indigos or indigo children or child was coined, you said, in the 1970s, but that indigo child could be born anytime. Is that correct?
Yeah, they absolutely. I mean, they have different names depending on what generation, so they use the word starseed indigos. But again, it doesn't really matter the name. It's really about this frequency of creating change. And so they kind of don't fit the mold. They don't fit in the box type of thing. And so there are neighbors, our family members, our children. I mean, they're older now, but you can see that change needed to come. They often were called indigo blue because they can get into a very depressed blue state. And they are actually grieving Earth. Earth didn't have a high frequency of love, of compassion. It had a frequency of war, of worry, of fear, of stress. You were born unworthy, you must repent was the energy. And indigos came to change that, to say, nope, I'm not worthy because of a job or money. I'm worthy because I'm me. And so again, there's some indigos struggle tremendously with those feelings. And so we need to always help individuals regulate. So of course, we're in a physical body. So your spirit is dying to expand and be free. And so that freedom comes when we exercise. So really cardio exercise will help regulate emotions, will moderate that frequency and really bring some inner peace, just like meditation. But they really have to learn to release their emotions quite quickly and easily. And that's not always easy for any of us on Earth. We want to replay that story, that emotion, and Some indigos they are people pleasers. They really want people's approval. So we have all these
So
characteristics.
let's break this down. Let's
Yeah.
dissect all of this. So personality traits, it seems like they're kind of headstrong, very creative.
Mhm.
You mentioned, even the art school example.
Yeah.
They're looking for change. They get frustrated with the way things are because they feel it should be different.
Right.
It sounds like they're a bit intuitive,
Yes.
um, maybe able to see things that others don't. But could it be possible that somebody has all those traits, but they're not fully using them? And for many different reasons. Part of it
Right.
could be from their upbringing, and they could feel like they're a people pleaser, or they're stuck in the perfection, riding the perfection train. So because of their upbringing, they're doing all those things, but they're not being who they are in terms of indigo children or adults at that point. And it's they're off. Like it doesn't feel right. I'm not being me, but they don't know why, because they're doing what they think they need to do, i.e., people pleasing and trying to be perfect and fit in, but that's not who they are. Is that possible? And is that what could be going on for many? Many of us, we don't even realize it, but we feel off.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Indigos are leaders. And if they're not leading people into peace, into individuality, being who they are, things don't feel good. So they tend to not, and I'll speak about my son specifically, they don't respect people just because of their age. They can feel deeply. So they feel when someone is being of high character. And so again, you can't get around an indigo because of their deep feelings. They have a knowing. And so again, they're looking for not just talk, they're looking for action. They can get stuck, like you mentioned. They get stuck in maybe what's the point? What's the point of being here? It doesn't feel good. But the point is change. Earth is in the spiritual, this point in history is the spiritual revolution. It's a quiet war, a push-pull from our higher and lower selves. And so your soul knows you're here to love everyone, that all are equal. There's no superiors, there's no inferiors. Your spirit is unbiased. It knows it's in this physical suit to touch, to love, to hug, to cook, to live.
Mm.
And so indigos know that, and they have to connect but sometimes they isolate, right? Because they got stuck somewhere. They have anxiety, fear, a diagnosis. I mean, as simple as Lyme disease can keep someone of a high vibration isolated. I'm sick. But they're sick because their feelings are so strong. So if we get them releasing, if we get some tears, if we get them writing some release letters, if we get them connecting into the world with their strengths and talents, things start to turn around. But remember, all people come to Earth to feel every emotion. So we're all going to feel rejected, abandoned, sad, unhappy, angry, frustrated, but of course, happy,
Hmm.
and know that this is part of Earth. So I think that perspective starts to shift things, because we're here to master life on Earth. And to master something means consistent practices. And one of the ways to master Earth is through self-discipline. And indigos might need support in that. Because it might not feel good. So not everything is supposed to feel good either. It doesn't mean I run away. It doesn't mean I dig a hole and kind of hide out. It means I work with consistent practices of meditation, exercise, prayer, quieting my mind in other ways, using art, creativity, that I come to create my life and know that there's unlimited resources, there's abundance. But how do I tap into that? Well, it's really taking apart those definitions of success. Sometimes success looks different for everyone. So there's certain words that might trigger people to kind of hide. And I think success means moderation, balance, doing things you love. And when you have that vibration, money is always a byproduct of that. So money will come. We do need money on earth. However, if we're only doing things for money, there could be a lack of joy. And I do think we're here to feel joyful, and that comes from within. It doesn't come from other people. It doesn't come from a job. It doesn't come from money, but it comes from love. And so love is something that when we love ourselves, we wake up and we smile and we give gratitude and we take care of our bodies, and we regulate our emotions. So again, Earth is a very interesting place when we start to have these conversations of you were born worthy, you were here perfect, and any talent you have is to fit this gigantic puzzle. So everyone is supposed to look different, act different, but that makes Earth more complete. And the vibration of love can spread out from there. So I think it's an exciting time because we're having these conversations, not of, you have this problem, you have this challenge, but we're saying, nope, it's all these differences have been misunderstood. They're actually valuable. They're actually make you able to do what you came to do, whether that's advanced technology, computers, AI. So all those individuals needed to have those characteristics to bring change to Earth. So change is not always comfortable, and it does take hard work, self-discipline, but it also takes thinking outside the box. So for all those indigos, all those individuals who haven't felt worthy, important, good enough, we're here to say you're exactly the way you're supposed to be. And that feels good for somebody to hear them, to help them understand these differences were important to bring change to Earth. And so we need all those indigos out there living, speaking, running, being creative, doing what they came to do, because sometimes they can get stuck. And
well, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of times, especially when it's children, but even adults, because more and more adults are being diagnosed with this, but a lot of times it's viewed as ADHD, on the spectrum, things like that, because they feel so misaligned, as I understand it. And I appreciate you breaking this down, because I've heard the term indigo children before over years. Kind of wondered what it meant, or, you'd even hear the children of the indigo. Well, is that a Native American tribe or something? Many of us hear things, but we're not really sure what it is.
Yeah.
Getting back to, and that's one aspect of why we're here. Do you believe we're here to create, learn, and teach? Doesn't have to be in that order. Create, learn, and teach. Are we here for that reason?
I think we're here to remember who we are deep down. That I think things have gotten so clouded that we need to remember the perfection and the worthiness and the beauty. When we remember that, everything starts to show up.
So let's clarify that. When you say remember, if you were never it, you can't remember it. However, I think what you're referring to, and if this is what I believe, tell me if we're on the page.
Yeah.
When we're born, we are that. We are perfect. That. It's you are you. You are the most pure, as that baby being born, perfect. That is it. Everything is you. Yeah. And if we didn't experience, which is impossible, life and all those things around us as a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, now you're 4. Now you've pretty much formed who you really are, but you had outside sources, outside influence. Maybe your parents didn't give you enough attention. Nothing against your parents. They didn't know that you needed more. And things like that. You hear something, you think it's for you. Somebody says something, you internalize it. I'm not good enough. All those things.
Right.
When you say remember, should we remember, or are we here to remember who we were when we were born?
Absolutely. That
Mm,
perfection, right? That plan. You came in with a purpose. You came in to get people around you, your communities, the world back into this vibration of love. And so, again, a lot of times children are here to assist parents. We think we're raising the kids, and really they're the ones pushing us into new domains. But I've never met a parent who didn't love greatly their child. It's a miracle. I mean, an absolute miracle when there's the birth of a child. And so I get back to, how do you raise spiritual children, right? To keep that love, to keep that knowing that they matter. But yeah, they have to work hard. They have to learn how to regulate. They have to balance things, find moderation. So we're always in this process of remembering that, oh, okay, I can feel this way, but I don't have to blame. I can take responsibility with my own personal actions and move through things. I think, learning means it's something I don't know. And I believe we know. I believe we know the vibration of love when we're born. And we're constantly trying to remember who we are, that perfection. But we are here to create, right? So we're here to create, meaning our soul plan. We're here. Some people came to be scientists. Some people came to be communicators, teachers.
Well, is that our purpose?
It's part of our purpose. I mean, the greater purpose is love. I mean, to love each person as if they're you. That there's no difference between us. We came in a difference.
You bring up a great point, because and it's a cliche we all hear, but it took a journey for me to figure it out. If you don't love yourself, how can you truly effectively love others?
Right. You don't have, the bucket's empty, right? How do you share love without loving who you are? And so parents do an absolute amazing job of trying to get their kids to fit in society, be independent, earn a living. But their ideas of a future for their child may not align with that child's sole purpose. They may have come in to change things, to do something different. So if we allow children to regulate, to know they matter, they're important, and they'll thrive. I was told, I desperately wanted to study psychology as an undergrad. And my dad said, I'll pay for college, study math or science. There's no jobs in that psychology stuff. And I was like, oh, and I became a math teacher and then went back to school quickly and got a counseling degree. But so again, there was great love, but maybe it was all purposeful, right? Maybe it was to do math and that. We don't really know, but somehow I remembered there was this urgency for me to understand how to communicate.
We don't really know. I think you really know. I think you really know. Whether you realize it or not, you know. And you've given me and us much more appreciation for the birth of a baby. Yes, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Life begins. I look at it in a different way now, even after this conversation. This baby is amazing. This is just an amazing creation with all this talent, purpose, traits. We don't see it. We see it as a baby and it needs to learn to grow up and all that. No, it's all there. It's actually the other way. The baby is formed based on its experiences, and sometimes it's interpreted different ways, and that kind of gets you off of your purpose. But that's the way life is, and I guess that's part of the learn. You know?
Yeah, no, it's part of life on earth. Yeah. And I think, again, if we can start to love ourselves, like we always say, what that looks like, then the purpose shows up. We define love of self by taking care of your physical body, processing your emotions, regulating, quieting your mind, and having faith, belief in a positive outcome, understanding energy, understanding love. And so that's what we do here at Infinite Healing, because we try to quiet the minds, Indigos don't detox quite so well, so they need a little more support in detoxing their body. So we have an array of detox facilities here. But if they exercise, if they sweat, they're going to feel a lot better. So again, life on Earth can be easier, and you can see those options, but you have to see them here in your heart. You have to feel them. And that's why each person needs to get in spirit, inspired, and listen to themselves, not necessarily what their mind or the world is telling them, but listen to their heart and listen to their passion. And then that love can shoot forward, their lives become even more abundant, and they're creating that. But that comes from love energy.
And we work with everybody, not just indigo children, everybody. And it's got me thinking. I mean, they say that those born after the 1970s, not included in that. But I'm like looking at the indigo thing. It's like I'm checking boxes like, oh, that's you, that's you, that's you. It kind of makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Amazing. Colleen, thank you for the insight today and validation of a number of things for all of us. As always, great conversation. How do we connect with you?
Yes, so we're here in Middletown, New Jersey, infinitehealingandhealth.com, array of services, but of course, most things can be done virtually these days, from life coaching to skios and Reiki classes, sound healing, and more. But we'd love you to come visit us in Middletown, New Jersey, not too far away from most places. So
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. I always learn from you, and it's exciting when you start putting this stuff into perspective and taking inventory of what you got. We all have a lot. And I'm not talking about materialistic things, but maybe I am, could. Maybe you earned those using your purpose. Lots to think about. Looking forward next time we get together.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.